Hey everyone, let's talk about the harsh truth about prime in MMA. Many fans talk about an athlete's prime like it is one clean period in a fighter's career, a few years where they are at their best, physically sharp, mentally confident, and technically complete. And that's true, partially. In MMA, prime is much more complicated than that. A fighter can be in their athletic prime and still not be in their best version. They can be technically better than ever, but physically slower. They can still have the skills, but no longer have the confidence and durability or hunger that made those skills dangerous. So, let's get in for the juicy part. First things first, prime is not one thing. That is the first problem. When people say a fighter was in their prime, they usually mean the best version of that fighter. But the best version is not always about age. It is not always about record. After my research, I even took the conclusion that your prime is not even always about winning. In MMA, prime is a combination of many things, namely speed, timing, durability, confidence, experience, motivation, health, style, and the level of the division around them. When one of those pieces changes, the whole picture can change. Athletic prime comes first. Most fighters reach their physical peak before they reach their full technical peak. They are young, fast, explosive, durable, and able to recover quickly. They can make mistakes and survive them because their body covers the gaps. Early Conor McGregor is a good example. At featherweight, his reactions were sharp, his confidence was extreme, and his timing was faster than most opponents could process. He was not the most complete version of himself in every area, but physically and psychologically everything was aligned. But athletic prime fades quietly. It does not always disappear overnight. At first, the fighter still looks dangerous, the power is still there, the skill is still there, but the reactions are a little slower. The timing is a little less automatic, the recovery between exchanges is not the same, and in a sport built on tiny margins, that is enough. A fighter who once slipped a punch by an inch might now get touched. A fighter who once exploded first might now arrive half a second late. Technical prime often comes later, after maturing and getting experience from your first higher level fights. This is where MMA becomes confusing and beautiful. A fighter can actually become smarter and more skilled after their body has already started declining. They understand distance better, they read opponents better, they waste less energy, they make fewer emotional decisions. Everything becomes more muscle memory and recognizable due to the sheer experience and reps that they put on their craft over the years. But sometimes, by the time their mind is at its sharpest, their body can no longer execute everything the same way. That is why older fighters can look brilliant in moments, but inconsistent across a whole fight. Jose Aldo is one of the clearest examples. Young Aldo was explosive, violent, fast, and terrifying. He had the athletic edge to punish almost every mistake. Later in his career, he became calmer and more measured. His boxing improved, his defense became more patient. He was still elite and, in some ways, more refined, but it was not the same kind of prime. The danger had changed. The fighter was still great, but the ingredients were different. Confidence prime may be the most underrated part. Well, of course, that if you're in the UFC, you got to have some type of confidence, and they do not hesitate, they do not overthink, they trust their reads, their weapons, and their timing. But I'm talking about Anderson Silva's level confidence prime. It was not just physical or technical, it was confidence. He fought like someone who knew the cage belonged to him. That belief made him relaxed in danger, and that relaxation made his reactions look impossible. But confidence can be fragile. One bad loss can change how a fighter sees the risk. One knockout can change how they enter exchanges. One failed moment can create hesitation where there used to be flow. The skills might still be there, but the certainty is gone. And once a fighter starts questioning moments they used to own, their prime can feel like it vanished, even if their body has not completely declined. Durability is another important yet underlooked part of prime. Fans often talk about speed, cardio, and power, but durability might be just as important. Some fighters build entire styles around being able to take damage. They pressure, exchange, absorb, and keep coming. When their durability is intact, that style looks heroic. When it starts fading, the same style looks reckless. Tony Ferguson is one of the strongest examples. For years, his toughness and pace were weapons. He could survive chaos and turn it into his world. But once the damage accumulated, the same habits became dangerous. Pressure fighters often age badly for this reason. Their prime depends on physical trust. They need to believe they can walk through shots, recover from damage, and keep forcing pace. Once that trust weakens, the style starts breaking. They either keep fighting the same way and take worse damage, or they become more cautious and lose the pressure that made them special. Either way, the prime changes. So, to summarize, style decides how long prime lasts. Not every fighter ages the same because not every style demands the same things. A fighter who depends on speed and explosiveness may have a shorter window, even if he takes care of himself and isn't reckless. A fighter who depends on timing, positioning, and control may last longer. This is why some fighters seem to age overnight, while others stay dangerous for years. It is not just genetics, it is the cost of the style. If we take a look into one of the goats of the sport, John Jones shows a different version of prime. His early light heavyweight run had the feeling of physical and creative dominance. He was young, long, unpredictable, and seemed ahead of the sport. Later, he became more experienced, more patient, and more controlled, but the immense fight IQ remained there, even though his explosive unpredictability was not always the same. So the question becomes difficult. Which version was Prime Jones? The wild creative destroyer or the experienced champion who knew how to win even when fights became closer? That is why prime debates never end. People are often talking about different things without realizing it. One person means physical prime, another means technical prime, another means championship prime, another means the version with the best resume. But those are not always the same fighter. A fighter's best body, best mind, best skill set, and best achievements can all happen at different times. Now let's talk about what might affect one's prime. In MMA, damage changes prime faster than age alone. A fighter can be young in years but old in fight mileage. Hard sparring, wars, weight cuts, injuries, knockouts, and 5 round fights all matter. The body keeps score. That is why two fighters at the same age can be in completely different places. One might still be fresh, the other might have already spent the best parts of their career surviving damage. Weight cutting also affects prime. Some fighters look incredible at a certain weight until the cut starts taking too much away. The same discipline that helps them make a division can slowly drain their performance. Connor at featherweight had an almost perfect blend of size, speed, and confidence, but making that weight was not something that could last forever. When a fighter moves up, they may be healthier, but they may also lose the advantages that made their earlier prime so dominant. The harsh truth is that prime is often only obvious after it ends. While a fighter is in it, people assume it will continue. They think the timing, confidence, durability, and hunger are permanent. Then one fight looks different, then another. Suddenly, the same fighter seems slower, more hesitant, easier to hit, or less willing to take risks. Fans call it a downfall, but often it is just the natural collapse of a very specific balance. That balance is what prime really is. It is not just being young, it is not just being skilled, it is not just being champion. It is the moment where the body, mind, style, confidence, health, and environment all line up. And because so many things have to line up, prime is usually more fragile than people want to admit. In my opinion, a fighter can lose in their prime. A fighter can win after their prime. A fighter can be technically better while physically worse. A fighter can be more famous after their best version has already passed. All of these things can be true at the same time. And in MMA, that balance never lasts forever. This was the video. If you enjoyed it, consider liking and subscribing the channel. It will be highly appreciated by me. Peace.